Back and live. Happy Monday. Today, I want to chat about photography. More specifically, hero, header photography. You know, up at the top of your website where you put a great image that kind of illustrates your product or your brand or whom you serve, and or placing copy on top of it. That is also very common. I want to talk about how to choose great photography and how to place type. And I want to do this because stock photography, especially stock, but even if you have a local, repository of photos, it takes forever. I swear sometimes it is like the most time-consuming part of an entire web design initiative, whether you're a professional like me or if you're a DIYer. And look, if this is helpful, like and subscribe and maybe leave a comment and tell me how I did here, because I'm riffing. I have no outline. We're just going to go right here. We're going to do it all now. So what I want to do right now is share my screen. And what that's going to do is, I probably should have tested this first, share my browser window. Boom. Wow, I did it first try. Who knew? All right. This is just a couple of default ones that you get, and I'm going to do this in Squarespace. It's the platform I primarily use, and it's very fast and easy to do and share this type of thing. So here are two stock headers, and I'm just going to stack the headers up here so you can see and compare and contrast what those look like as I talk through the different things to consider when looking for photography and trying to design a great header that you feel like represents you or your brand or your product or whomever it is that you serve online. So I liked these two stock instances because they do a couple things pretty well. And I set out to find a couple that had dark typography and white typography in order to show that any mid-contrast photo, as long as it's framed really well, like these wide shots of both the mountain and this super artsy outhouse building thing and field, I think that these both do a couple things really well. And I wanted to start off with a couple of good examples. Now, mind you, you may be creating products for babies or pest control, or you may be doing very specific products, or you might have a service like me, like web design. And it's really hard to illustrate what that looks like in images. So I want to keep stacking these up here and talk through what we're looking at from a contrast standpoint and how to find images that are well framed and how to place type on top of it. Because really, contrast is king. There really isn't a way around it. Actually, instead of creating a new one, I'm going to duplicate this section right here. Because there are ways, and any platform can do this, where you can edit the overlay opacity, right? And you can say, oh, now putting white typography on top of this photo kind of works, but it also is messing with the photo a little bit in a way that you may feel like doesn't really suit the style of what you're going for from a brand standpoint. Like maybe you want something really bright. The challenge is, as contrast to the text goes away, that becomes more difficult to read. And while you can be saved by something like parallax or some kind of motion in the background, which I'm not going to get into here specifically, it can help with legibility as you create motion. But when it comes to low visibility or ADA compliance, that's Americans with Disabilities Act, or just generally doing the right thing and making things as legible as possible. So this is what I mean. I'm going to replace this image with a new stock photo. And it could be anything like this overview, right? Now, this is an image that is pretty similar in that there's a lot of mid colors. I mean, other than this giant evergreen shrub over here. But you can see how a busy image and sort of a bunch of midtones and hues on the photo itself creates a challenge with legibility. And this copy could be made to be black. which isn't going to help much because we are in midtones here, right? So even if it was bold, I still don't think this is serving very well. And this is an instance where if you have to use this photo, some amount of overlay will work. And now this is a dark blue. You can use a black, and it's going to change my colors because that's what we have in the brand that we've built out on this test website. But in general, I think you get the point in how to manage the overlay. And this really isn't even about overlays so much, but that looks really great. Like, I don't have an issue with that at all. Now, if I duplicate this again and I edit my section here, and I'm going to choose a dark photo. So if we were to choose a night image, and mind you, all of these are easy to use wide landscapes. I'm going to get into people and pets and a couple other challenges in the future. Like, it is dead simple to make a nighttime photo like this contrast really well. I don't even think you need any overlay, and that's just going to work really fantastically. Now, if you had copy that wasn't bold, maybe the contrast would be a little worse, but in general, this copy is still really easy to read. In fact, even the layout of the make it stand out in the moon or whatever, maybe there's a North Star, like that's just luck how cool that came out. But in general, the way we want to start framing this, if we have more complex images, looks a little bit like this. So let me duplicate this section and show you what it will look like if we were to find kids soccer, because you've got I can't spell. Ha! Awesome. So if we have a soccer team or we work with nonprofits, or we do something where we help kids and children's athletics, like whatever it is, if we have to choose a photo of some kids playing soccer outdoors, then we're going to have a much more complex photo here. And it's going to be more difficult to start creating contrast. And this is where the overlay can really help. So this image is loading. Oh, good. Contrast is only on 2. I'm going to put it down to 0. And let this party. See, now we start running into some issues here with legibility. And this isn't too light of a photo. Or maybe I should have picked an even lighter one. But kids playing games. How's that? We'll find something a little more busy. Now, this would be like Parks and Rec or something like that. So when it comes to framing and finding photography, like obviously right now we got massive amounts of contrast issues, and that's where an overlay can really come in handy. In fact, I think a blue would actually work really nice with this one. Give it kind of a softer feel. But you're not going to be saved by changing the color here to being dark. This has to be white copy, otherwise it'd be completely illegible. And I just hit Command Z to undo on that, by the way. So let's get into some even more challenging scenarios here where we duplicate this, start getting into tighter and tighter framing. Because what I've found is that, and you've probably seen this too, when you're searching for stock imagery, you have most of the photos of, let's find a mother, because we're going to be selling some baby products or something, right? You have vertical or portrait photography, and you've got landscape photography, which is horizontal. But as you can see in my example here in the background, is we're actually working with a more extreme aspect ratio here. And the same would be true on mobile, which would be really tall and narrow. So it can take a while to find something that's framed really well. Like if we pick this mom and kid embracing here outdoors, this is a great photo. I don't have an issue with this photo at all. But you can only show some emotion. So if this is about mom, you might struggle. And maybe you pick a different zone or a region of the photo. Or maybe you have the ability to make it taller, but if this was even shorter, then we would run into a situation where it's really difficult to figure out what this photo is about because it's framed so tightly inside of our aspect ratio that it can be hard to figure that out. Like if we're going to replace this now with another photo of pest control, something just a little more, I don't know, real life scenario. Like if you had to eat now, nobody's going to hurt grasshoppers. What are we even doing here? Oh, let's go with tomatoes. This is going to be a great photo. So if you're working with something that is almost like, this is pretty close to micro photography, right? It might actually be micro photography. You could have a conversation about tomatoes here, but you couldn't really have a conversation about the bowl or whatever they're in. So it would kind of limit what it is you could do in here. And the same is true if you're choosing an image that is parents. I did tightly framed. Oh, this one's great. I've used this on a project before. Where did he go? Really warm photo. So let me get rid of the overlay. Again, this is an image where it's pretty difficult to create great contrast unless your copy is white. But if we were picking a photo that was really light, we'd have to go with black copy, or we'd have to go with something that was less tight. So by comparison, like all we can show is talk about here. It's pretty limiting, even though it's a great photo. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it gives you an idea of how to frame these things. Like, so even if we go into mobile, you can see that most of these work really well when you're able to add some amount of overlay and manage that contrast. But the tighter the frame, the harder it is to connect the context of the photo with the copy that you want to overlay. So mind that. And then if anytime you can get into a really wide shot like that one or this, sky shot, even this park one, that's the way to go, is to find something that's framed so the subject is as small as reasonable or possible inside of the photo itself. And that really will help you not help you. That creates more options and more opportunity for that type of application. So I'm gonna stop sharing. Hope this was helpful. That's kind of how I approach that. Like pick an image. Hopefully it's not framed too tight. Make sure we got great contrast of our typography, and that's basically it. I wanted to cover that because it's come up a few times lately. Believe it or not, it's come up where someone's like, I want to use this photo. And sometimes it's a great photo. No problem at all. And other times, designers get these photos sent to them that it's not happening. And you have to be the bearer of bad news to say, I have your image here and I've placed a typography on top of it, but here are some alternatives. It's kind of how you manage that in my world. But if you're DIYing it, picking photography is like one of the hardest things that you have to do. So hopefully this was helpful. Like and subscribe. Shoot me a note. Comment. Love to see it. And I will chat with you back here Wednesday. Looking forward to it. Have a great week. Go get 'em.